anyone who has expertise should be willing and open to share that where necessary. It's good for everybody, it's good for government, but it's good for society. And that more expertise, more data in decision making can only be a good thing.
The one top challenge that I've come across is making that first point of connection, finding somebody who clearly is interested in engaging with my expertise to inform public policy.
In terms of challenges, I think timing is often an issue. So academics work on much longer timescales than policymakers, so they have to produce intermediate outputs that policymakers can make use of. Another challenge is sometimes policymakers get kind of blinded by science, with academics producing lots of different policy outputs or policy-ready outputs. I think it's better to have longer-term bilateral relationships with very specific policymakers on specific research themes. That works better.
One of the main challenges is the need that policymakers have for a digestible, quick answer or fix to big structural questions. And of course, academics and historians in particular resist the idea of those briefer or condensed answers. So part of the challenge is the translating of complex ideas into a digestible outcome.
I think it is challenging to have empathy, or to really understand the real conditions in which our policy partners are working, and to try and be sensitive to those. And another is to really have clarity together about what the purposes of what we're trying to do. What really is the nature of this policy problem that we're working on? That question is so difficult, and probably the deepest challenge I think that we have in doing policy engagement work.
First of all, engage with policymakers to understand what their pressing challenges are. Second of all, when you communicate ideas, make sure you translate kind of complex research findings into simple sentences, simple phrases which can be easily adopted. Thirdly, think about visuals, making sure that you communicate things with illustrations, with graphs, with tables, with maps. It just really enhances your policy message. Fourthly, I would develop ongoing relationships. It can be really useful to have a network of policymakers who are interested in your field, so that you can actually, you know who to go to when you've got key things to disseminate. And fifthly, just think about evaluating your impact. So I think what policymakers find most convincing is if they find out that other policymakers have implemented your ideas and that it's gone well, or it's changed something. So just be aware that it's not important just to know that you've convinced a policymaker. You need to also understand what happened afterwards on the ground.
My 5 top tips are to don't be worried about engaging with non-standard academic funders like NGOs. Actively approach policymakers to engage with designing your research question and approach. Actively approach policymakers to disseminate your work. Even a cold approach via email is better than no approach whatsoever. Try and simplify your messages so they're policy relevant, and try and cultivate media interest.
My 5 tips are, in no particular order, speaking to colleagues about any existing contacts they might have and tips, so drawing on existing institutional knowledge. Number 2, it's remaining open to those moments, those surprising moments, those moments of serendipity where you can bump into somebody who you might want to talk to more about public policy engagement. The third is to ask for clear instructions from the person that you're dealing with in the policy community to get to know what they really want from a moment of interaction. The fourth is to follow up after a particular public policy engagement event to make sure that that relationship is consolidated. And then the fifth point is to make sure that you stay abreast of the general political climate to know when to make a pitch for a particular engagement event or to pitch a particular policy brief.
My 5 top tips for engaging with policy are: know who you want to influence, and that can be influencing people in a wide range of spaces. Be patient about making those changes and influencing people. Recognise that you won't always get credit for policy change. Be realistic and think about the experience from the other person's perspective. Think about getting your own experience of working in practice as well as academia.
One last tip would be to make sure that you have a dialogue with all of the stakeholders who might be affected by the policies, because understanding their needs will improve any policy recommendation you might put forward.